Do you ever find that when you try to locate a bird in the trees or in the shrubs, that sometimes it seems impossible? Like you hear it, but you might never be able to find it. Well, today, during the Mindful Bird Sit, I'm going to share a tip with you that will help you actually find the birds way quicker and way easier. And it doesn't require any new devices or apps, just simply your own set of eyes. Hey there, thanks for joining the Mindful Bird Sit. My name is Christy, and I help people connect deeply with birds and nature while boosting their skills, elevating their confidence, and helping them to fall more in love with life. If that's something you'd like to do, please subscribe and stick around. You can also join my new bird lovers community, The Roost. All right, let's get started. Yeah, so today we're going to focus on the eyes. So wherever you're sitting, just make sure that you have a nice view, like something that just something you enjoy looking at, and because that's going to be our big focus. Just seeing some, I think there are leaves falling. Oh, the aspens have been hanging on to their leaves for a really long time. I guess I have never like lived right next to aspens. They're always like up in the mountains. And now they're right here, and I've just been noticing how much longer they hang on to their yellow leaves for. I feel like once a tree turns, like the leaves turn color, it's pretty shortly after that that the leaves fall. But with the aspens, they've been yellow for quite a while now, like maybe even a month, and they still have, like, the leaves are still retaining on the trees. And I think I just saw some of their leaves fall just right now. So, wow. Easily distractible. I'm sure you guys understand. All right, so yeah, we're gonna focus on our eyes. So just in a position where you enjoy what you're looking at, and then you can follow my guidance. And the intention today is, well, it's something we practice all the time using owl eyes or softened vision, but it's gonna be to practice getting, like honing that skill, getting better at that. So we're really gonna focus on developing that skill within ourselves today. Okay. So we'll begin first by just getting ourselves set up and situated, nice and comfy, cozy. Allow yourself just to settle in to your place. And a lot of us are feeling changes in the temperature. So let your body feel that right now. Allow your body simply to feel the change in temperature. Even you, Linda, who's driving, like in the car, just notice like how your fingers feel on the wheel. Notice if there's any sensation of cold or warmth that you might feel on your body. And is it different, inside your body? Can you get that sensation of what it feels like on the inside compared to the surface of your skin? And then maybe the place where those two interact, the meeting of the outer skin and the inner world of our bodies. So allowing yourself to go deep right away, deep within your body, and still being connected and aware of what's happening just right at the surface as well. It's a good mental state to be in anyway. If there's a lot going on in your world, or you have a big meeting or talking to someone you're concerned about, this can be a nice practice to go deep within yourself, find your center, and then just notice this, the edge of your skin. Notice that the world just right outside of your body. And now we'll bring it in a bit deeper. You can start to become aware of your breath. Noticing simply the rise and fall of your chest. You can start there. And for those who it's helpful to allow yourself to feel that more tactile experience, you could place your hand on your heart or on your chest. You don't have to, but if you'd like to have that connection with your heart and your breath, sometimes having another aspect of our body physically touch our chest can bring a deeper connection there. And then slowing it down just a little bit, you can begin by taking a nice deep breath in, filling your lungs, filling your chest a bit deeper than is just sort of the natural breath, and then let it go. And when you exhale, do so with the intention to push all the air out of your body. So squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until it's all the way out. And then allow your body just to fill up naturally again, but filling up full, really, really full with your breath. Seeing all the different places and parts of you that it could touch. And then again on the exhale, letting it go with a deep, full exhale. And you can do one or two more breaths like that. And then after that, allow yourself to fall back into the natural rhythm of your own breathing. Beautiful. So take it as you inhale this time, do so with the intention to really smell the air. So being really conscious of the scent in the air right now. And noticing if there's any feelings, emotions, or thoughts that come when you smell the air. Good work. And so today we'll try this, we'll begin this with our eyes open. So we're going to start by listening, bringing our attention to our ears, and begin now that we've quieted our own bodies some. We can start by listening to the sounds closest to your body, like closest to your skin. And then you can start to shift and stretch your sense of hearing and listening out just a little bit further, maybe arms reach or two arms reaches beyond. And even if you're inside, this doesn't matter. Inside, outside. Outside, you may just have a bit more, like further to stretch. But even if you're inside today, you can still do this practice. You can still listen at that distance. And maybe you have to listen through the wall or through the window. But just allow yourself to play with that idea that you can, that it's possible to hear outside the walls or maybe into the next room, even. And now go ahead and stretch your listening further. So now we're gonna travel maybe 50 feet, 100 feet away from you. So to the shrubs and trees and plants in the distance around you. Great. And now stretching as far as you can hear. So what's the furthest sound that you are conscious of in this moment? And then noticing if there's any gaps in your listening, like maybe you are focusing just on the sounds in front of you rather than behind you, or vice versa. So if you notice that there's a certain direction that you're not really listening for, then go ahead and give that part of your awareness some attention right now. All right, good job. So most of you likely have your eyes open, and if you don't, you can open them now. Just gently, softly allowing them to fall on something that's anywhere from 10 to 50 feet away from you. Find one particular point to give your attention to. And it's ideal if it's, eye level. So you're not looking too far down or too far up, but just eye level is perfect for this practice. And then once you found your spot to look at, you're going to imagine that there's ripples in the water. So you just dropped a little stone on that spot, and then you're going to watch the ripples spread out further and further and further. And this is your vision stretching further and further and further on each side. And you're still looking at that one point. And so today, what we're going to do with this practice of owl eyes or softened vision is we're going to stay here. So we will shift our gaze in just a little while, but first, what I want you to do is imagine that you're a horse with blinders on in a sense, but no blinders. Maybe just something that you've got a neck brace on and you're unable to turn your head, right? You have to stay looking at this one point. So just choose a point right now and you have to stay. And if something catches your attention or you're curious about something in the furthest reaches of your vision, then do your best to stretch your vision in that direction. Don't turn your head or move it, but just expand your vision as much as you can in that direction. So we're going to stay focused on this one point. And if you have to rest your eyes a little bit, you can close them rather than turn your head. So, but we just want to stay with one choice, with one direction for the next little bit, and I'll let you know when we'll shift. So, a few things to remember that it's okay, first of all, to let your vision become blurry. That's a common thing that happens. It's even desirable with this practice. So, if you notice your vision becomes blurry the longer you stare at that one object, that's perfectly fine. And then also, if you haven't really seen much or even had the inclination to look to the furthest reaches of your vision, right, left, above, and below, then do that now. So even though you're looking forward, give your attention to the far right, to the far left, and see how far you can stretch in either direction. But keep your head at that same plane and don't turn from that point you're looking at. Good work. So I've actually decided that we're going to stay with this one point. So we're not going to turn and look around somewhere else. We're just going to stay with this one point. I think it's a really great practice, especially related to mindfulness, just to stay on one point. So continue just looking in this direction, looking at this point, and just giving yourself up to this practice right now. Great work. So, if you haven't already, you can just give yourself up to the reverie of the moment, letting yourself really just get absorbed into the daydream of this moment, giving yourself permission to do that. And we're going to stay in this state for the next while. There you go. Good work, everybody. So we'll go through one more round of giving our attention to the furthest reaches of our eyesight in each direction. So take your time with it. And so you can begin first by giving your attention to your vision on the left, and just let yourself stay there for a moment, and then your vision above. So you're still looking forward, but you're stretching your vision, your field of view, as much as you can above you, and then to the right, and then below you. All right. So take the next moment or two and you can offer your own blessing or gratitude to whatever it was, whoever it was that you connected with this morning. Lovely. So, as per usual, if you need to head out, thank you for coming. Loved being here with you. And if you'd like to stay, then would love to hear from folks what this was like for you this morning. And also, if anyone has any questions about owl eyes or the softened vision and how to do it, you're welcome to ask those questions too. Who would like to share? Oh yeah, Gabrielle, sure. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go for it. Want me to give you the button? Let me get over there. 1 second. There we go. All right.
Well, I had a really interesting experience. It's almost like I watched some little bird drama going on. And it started with this crow. I have wires next to me, my balcony, and there's a major pole that holds the wires. And there was a crow on top of the big the biggest part of what held to the wires. You know, it's like a cross, and he's in the middle, and he's eating out of the top of this pole as though there's like a feeder in it. So I'm imagining that there's a kind of a bowl at the top of it. And so he starts eating, or she starts eating. And then another crow comes, and the first one has something in his or her mouth and moves over and lets the second one eat out of this bowl. And then another one came, and then another one, until there were four. And they weren't really communicating with each other, but then one of them would start sounding. And then after the sounding, another one would come, and then another one would leave. And pretty soon they're like leaving one at a time. But there was always only one that would sound. So I had this whole story going on about this bird feeder that I didn't know I had in my backyard. And once they all left, and there was nothing, I didn't see any other birds. And then suddenly the kind of the sparrows and the more common birds started coming on the wire, but they didn't go for the food. They were just waiting for the crows to leave. Anyway, it was just fascinating, this whole story that went on in front of me that I would have not noticed, and I've never seen before, if I hadn't been just looking at that one point.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, Gabrielle. That's lovely. It's such a gift sometimes to give ourselves that freedom, I think, to just choose one thing, you know? I know for me when I was doing this that it was almost like a big sigh of relief of like, oh, I don't have to do anything else except just look at this one point, you know, and just it took pressure. There was like no pressure to do anything else for me. I was just like, okay, this is all I'm doing. And then I could just really be there. And like, what a gift you gave yourself today to, be able to witness that. And what an interesting thing. And to know that you have your own special sort of bird feeder of sorts on top of the telephone pole. That's really fun.
Yeah, yeah, that was great.
Aw, thanks, Gabrielle.
And I love that you mentioned daydream, because
Mm,
I work with dreams. And
mhm.
so when I started looking at this as a dream, then it gave it even more depth.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot there for sure. That's beautiful. Well, thanks for all that, Gabrielle. Yeah. Sweet. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Susie. Oh, you're muted, my dear. There's the button. You see, there you
Ah,
go.
the sun is so bright.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sitting and I usually sit for my birds. It's on the deck, but since I want to get closer to my forest in the backyard, I brought my chair and all my equipment out, um, about 25 feet past my deck. And I'm sitting my feet, I have a tube feeder over here and the forest in front of me. I was doing my owl eyes, looking straight ahead, and I'm usually not very good at owl eyes, but today I it sort of worked for me, because in front of me is like this field, and wow, 50 feet is the forest edge, and looking with my owl eyes, and the field in front of me just kind of disappeared, like I was thinking of like my camera, if I it it, it just kind of goes out of focus. And so I was looking, like you told me, um, focused on the one point, trying to go right, trying to go left, and I can't really focus on anything over here. I mean, I can't really distinguish things. I don't know if that's right or not. Something wrong with my peripheral vision, but but then all of a sudden, a hawk comes and stands right in front of me, right in front of me. So I'm watching it. And then over on the two feeder come two chickadees going dee 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 dee. The hawk didn't even look at them, and then they kind of disappeared. Then um, then the hawk went over on another branch on the left. So I was watching it, trying to identify it. First, I thought it was a Cooper's hawk, but it was too big. I think it was a red-shouldered hawk. Anyway, it didn't make any noise. It just looked around like like Cheryl's hawk, looking around for something, and it eventually flew away. And then there was a chickadee uh, over here, and then a downy woodpecker and a bluebird. They were they just kind of like appeared after the hawk flew away. Anyway, I was so excited.
Seriously, Susie, that's awesome.
I mean, I need to sit out here more.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
so.
sitting on my deck anymore.
Yeah, no. That seems like the place to be right there. Wow. And there's nothing wrong with the owl eyes. The way you were describing it is going to be blurry on both sides, but it's more what I wanted you all to do was just have that experience and that practice of stretching, of like continuing to stretch your vision, continuing to like stretch what you think is possible for how you can see. And the seeing isn't necessarily that you're going to see like detail. You're just going to have like it could be motion, it could be shape, it could just be color, whatever it is, like you'll notice something on the in your periphery and just to continue to stretch your vision, but you're still looking forward. So that's where sort of like the focus is, if it's anywhere, is forward. And then just the awareness is going to be over here. So it sounds like you did it perfectly to me, because most of us can't focus, unless we're like, that's where I don't even, I don't know the structure of eyes and like how they work, but I don't think we're able to focus on something that's like not right in front of us. I think we need to be looking at it to have the focus, but we can see some, like we can still see it, color, shape, size, texture, all that. Like we can see that, like that's present to us. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, Susie. I'm so stoked for you. That's awesome. So I'll get you muted. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
Oops, I got you. Um, great. Who else would like to share? Cheryl and then Anne Marie. Yeah, go for it.
So during most of the allies, I wasn't hearing any of the birds. Not a bird. And then, but I could see them quietly moving around my peripheral vision. You know, I saw dark-eyed juncos, I saw golden-crowned sparrow, and I noticed that a pygmy nuthatch had come over to the feeder because I'm looking kind of towards, you know, these areas, and I could see the movement and I can tell by what bird it is. Now I have two Nuttall's woodpeckers in my backyard, and they're really just going around banging on the trees. You know, normally I mostly have acorn woodpeckers. None of the acorn woodpeckers are back here right now. And I have one Nuttall's in this oak tree, and I have another Nuttall's in this oak tree, and it's like they're just going around and checking all the little acorn holes that the acorn woodpeckers have made to see if there's anything interesting inside of them or bugs. It's all I could figure out. And I love it when the Nuttall's are back here, but
Yeah,
it's mostly only one at a time.
yeah.
So,
Is that their vocalization right now? Is that them talking?
yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Here, I'll aim you.
I can
Yep,
hear. Oh, you muted yourself.
I did.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so they're just going for it. So
Yeah.
I
Beautiful,
love it.
Cheryl.
I love
Yeah.
it. It's always different. It's
Always
always
different.
different.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And also just like the curiosity about what the Nuttles is doing, you know, like who knows what maybe they're looking for the nuts, maybe they're checking out for sap or the bugs or whatever. But Nuttles woodpeckers, they're not sap suckers, right? They're like more like a downy, hairy kind of woodpecker, right? Yeah. Like the black back sort of. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen one. I can't remember if I'd ever seen one.
They look like a ladderback, a
Yeah.
woodpecker, except they have a broader lapel collar
Okay.
on the back of their neck.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's how actually I could tell the ladderback from the
Ah.
Nuttalls.
Nice job. That's awesome. And it was nice for all of us to be able to hear their vocalization. That's great. Thanks, Cheryl. Lovely. All right, Anne Marie.
Well, I got the sensation that I was kind of in a snow globe and I was inside and I could see like all around what was going on. And I must have been just so relaxed because literally a bird almost hit me in the head because it flew like whoops when I was up here on the deck. Because I have a lot of tufted titmice and nuthatches that like to swoop into the feeder, and sometimes, you know, this is their path. I guess they didn't see me. I was in that much of a reverie, not sending off any bad vibes or anything that they needed to avoid me. And yeah, it was neat because I could see the motion on each side. I couldn't necessarily identify the bird by sight, but then I could hear it, and I go, okay, that's this. So the my hearing seemed to heighten also when I let the vision kind of soften. And then I started to smell more things. I was like, okay, there's a neighbor cooking something. I can literally smell what they're what they're cooking. And I was like, that I wasn't picking up on until I relaxed the vision. So thank you. It was really cool.
Wow, it sounds so cool. I mean, I don't love that a bird just almost hit you in the head, but at the same time, I do love that a bird almost hit you in the head for different reasons. Not that it would be hurt or you would be hurt, but you know, that's really cool. And what a beautiful thing that thinking about that, I guess I thought of a deer when you described being able to smell your neighbor's cooking, or like any wild animal who literally spends its life outside being aware, you know, like that's what they do is they're aware of their environment all the time. They have to be. And how and like I think we as humans often sort of degrade our sense of smell in terms of like how we speak of it, like, oh, we're not as good as other animals at smelling. And I think there's like scientific truth to that, you know, that there's certain receptors that, you know, wolves have like 500 times what I think even a dog has, and then that's like dog has like 1,000 times even more than what we do. But still, I think even as human animals, that we probably have more of all of these senses than we're even aware of, because we don't slow ourselves down, because we don't quiet ourselves, and we don't just let ourselves be aware. And in one moment, you know, sort of looking in one direction at one time, you know, like really slow, just really. And then that's something that stood out to me when I was looking was, I guess just how much there really is out there, you know? Like I might look out and be like, oh, most of the leaves are gone and there's some pine trees and, you know, fir and whatever out there. But it's kind of like this time of year when the leaves fall. It reminds me of being in a desert. When you first come to a desert, if you haven't been there before, you're like, oh, there's nothing here, you know? It's just like this vast openness. But there's so much, like there's often like so much life in the desert when you just slow down and actually look for it. And I felt that today, that I could see and perceive and feel so much more of the life that's there, you know, when I slowed down in the way that I did and quieted everything and just chose one place to focus on instead of like, ooh, what's over here? What's over there? Oh, that bird over here. Oh, this thing over there. Look at the plant. Look at the, you know, it's like, I think oftentimes we're just like, we're bopping around, sort of like there's like an old video game, you know, where you like have to like hit the, what was that called?
Oh, Pong.
Pong, yeah, and you'd have to like hit the things that would come down, you know, and that's how our brains are, I think, too. It's probably why it got designed the way it was. Yeah. Beautiful, Emery. Anything else you want to share?
No, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you. Yeah, Anne, go for it.
Well, it's not just on the sit today, but I'm going to take everything with me. It's the spiritual part of the roots that I'm really embracing, this meditation and stuff. I think in the forum I mentioned that I'd found a deer kill, or my husband did, and I went to find it yesterday, and I was very anxious. First off, I had to find it because from my husband's description where it was, it's at the edge of the prairie, and I went. And of course, I get there and I take a picture. I want to see the bones of her. And I felt very anxious being there. I mean, almost on edge. I was uncomfortable. And we talked with my husband, and he said he felt the same way. He says, because those I believe it's coyotes. That's not the point. But I'm going to go back today, and I want to approach it with a different mindset. To come to this edge wherever I am, ask permission. Is there any other suggestions? Something that I could do, an exercise that maybe somebody else has done, you know, to honor. I mean, this is just happening, it's nature, but I wanted to respect the area a little bit more. So if anybody has any ideas, or you do, or if I'm heading in the right direction. So I'll leave it out there.
Wow, Anne, what a beautiful question, and really brave too of you to put it out there like that. Well, what comes to my mind is, so if you're willing to go to that level and ask for permission, then you have to be willing to hear a no. Sometimes that's what comes up, you know, is like if you're asking for permission, and
That's a thought. Thank you.
there's different ways to do that in different cultures and how they come across the yes or the no. But you might have to decide beforehand what no is like what does no feel like, what does no sound like, what is no whatever. Like, but you'll like just be willing to accept it, because sometimes that anxiety that you're feeling isn't like, maybe it's not about the coyotes, it might be about something else, and maybe it's worthy to listen to that. Maybe it was a mountain lion that killed it and there's a mountain lion nearby, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
maybe not, but I'm just saying
Probably, yeah.
that the anxiety is something to listen to and to check in with. I'm so glad that you were both so aware of it. I think that's really like very heightened awareness that you were like, I'm feeling anxious. And he was like, yeah, so am I. But then check in and be like, all right, where, like, what is this anxiety? Like, is it a thought anxiety or is it like a gut feeling like we shouldn't be here? Like we need to leave kind of thing, you know? So just take a moment and like allow whatever emotion to be present to be there. And then just check in and see what it might be about, you know? I think that that can be helpful too, because sometimes our anxiety is just like fear and thoughts and things that like we've generated, but it's not actually anything that's real in the moment. You know, it's just our mind spinning. So that can be worthwhile to check in with. But yeah, and if you receive a yes, proceed, you know, like please proceed, then you can go with curiosity. And I think sharing why you're there, that's also good for ourselves. Like to
Okay.
know, you know, it's sort of like when you ask for permission, you're speaking your intention out there. So you're just like, here's why I'm here. Here's what I'm curious about. Here's what I'd like to do. Do I have permission to proceed, to enter, to approach? And if you receive a yes, then just trust that. Trust that like your request was granted. And then if you know, if part of it was curiosity and you want to pick up the bones and whatever, then do that, you know, because you got the yes. And if it was a no, then honor that. You could even check in further. You can always ask like deeper questions, like, is it no, like don't come at all, or is it no, don't touch the bones? You know, because it might not just like it's not just maybe not just one big broad no. So you can do things to kind of like
Okay.
ask deeper questions or further questions for clarity. And um, yeah, that's what I would do. I think it's really
Okay, good.
helpful if you want.
That's yeah, that's the guidance I was looking for. Is yeah, the asking, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's no. Yeah, and I don't think the anxiousness was the no. I think it was just, and both of it was, wow, this happened and it's part of our world.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was getting dusk, and there
yeah.
was probably a lot of coyotes there.
Yeah. So just concern and then that way, even if there are coyotes, it doesn't mean that you're in danger. So that's why again,
Right,
checking in with that anxiety of like, am I just afraid of what I think might happen or could happen? Or is there
right.
actually like maybe it is unsafe to be here and I need to listen to my body and I need to, you know,
Right.
leave or do whatever. So that's why that checking in can just be really helpful, you
All
know?
right.
Yeah.
Good answers. That's yeah. If
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
else has got
Yeah.
something,
Anyone
then
else have thoughts around that at all?
I'm
Ever had that experience before? Great. Thanks. What a beautiful question, Anne. Yeah, lovely thing to ask. Yeah, Jackie, go for it.
So, Anne, I'm so glad you brought that up. That was just so rich, and what you said, Christy, that's not something I had thought about before, of like asking, it's, and I want to practice that. I did have this little mini similar experience while we were doing this exercise today, which really surprised me because I just was in this great mood and just, it's so beautiful and there's all these great birds. And what I did was I looked in a different direction than I normally do. And so I'm sort of squished into this corner over here now, and I couldn't quite get comfortable. But I thought, well, I'm just going to persist with this. And I felt this fear arising, and I was like, what is this? And then as I just stayed with it, I realized I was compressing my chest, that my body was and I realized, oh, that's what it is. I'm, I'm not getting enough oxygen into me, and my muscles are tensing up because I was uncomfortable. So then everything started tensing up, I think. And, I was just sort of hesitant to bring it up because I thought, well, God, everybody's having these great experiences. And I'm like, it's beautiful and the birds are around and I just feel weird. And but it sort of comes into that, yeah, we just have to really come back and stay with whatever that feeling is and find out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And Yeah, that's very powerful.
It
Thank you.
is. I don't think there's anything sort of wrong, right, whatever with your experience. I think that what a great lesson. And like 10 stars for being mindful. Like that's the point of us being here, is to learn to be mindful. And there you were, noticing what was happening to you, noticing that you had fear and taking a moment to acknowledge that, being like, oh, I'm scared, like or whatever, like whatever the emotion was for you, and then checking in to see what it was about. And I love that you allowed it too. I just was listening to someone on an interview, I can't remember who it was because I listen to all sorts of them all the time. And he spoke about this idea, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it before, but of just that like emotions are, I think it was actually even Trevor Noah, in fact. I was listening to something about him, and I think it was him that was speaking about this, and he was referencing someone else, I'm sure too, but that emotions are, I forget how he described them, they're something, but that they can just be welcome. They're just a part of our experience. It's just like a different flavor. It's just like, oh, strawberry ice cream, vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. Like it's like fear, anxiety, joy. It's just different kinds of ice cream, and that none of them are right or wrong, good or bad. And what if we allowed them all to be present, just like sort of, Baskin Robbins? It's just like you have all these flavors to choose from. And, some might like taste better. Sure. It's like so fun to feel joy and thrill and excitement, and probably not as fun to feel anxiety and fear and all that stuff. But if we just choose them as this beautiful palette, then we don't have to be scared of them. We don't have to be scared of having that emotion. And then what happens when we can allow it is we can get curious about it then and be like, why is my chest feeling tight? And it's like, oh, literally, it just was because I was sitting like this. And yeah, I just think that's a really beautiful awareness, because when we're not conscious of what's happening to us and you start to feel the fear, if you're watching birds, for instance, and you want to connect deeply with birds, but you have fear in your body, then they're going to be pushed away. They're not going to feel that desire to come close to you. But when we can check in and say, oh, like I just need to readjust myself and open my chest up, and now I can be present. Now I can be fully here. And then our mind isn't, like thinking about all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that emotion, that's so cool. I remember uh, there was this man in Bozeman. He was Native American, and he was also a psychotherapist, and he was sort of half in blending things together.
Yeah.
And he would say, what we think of is it's more like, oh, I I was visited by depression,
Mm,
or I was visited by anxiety,
mm.
or and I thought that is such a freeing way to think of it.
Instead of
It's
I
not,
am.
I am
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
I am anxious, I am fearful. It's more, I'm experiencing
Mm.
this feeling that's arisen, or that, yeah, just that again, that animation of feeling that it's visiting you, like it has its own agency in a
Yeah.
sense. It's separate from us.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like that, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this conversation up, and also for you having the courage to share it, because you didn't, from what you were thinking initially, it sort of didn't flow with the rest of the like, oh, wow, kind of vibe. It's like, no, it totally, all of it's welcome, whatever your experience is. So, and I'm sure
Well, thank you
someone,
so much. I appreciate that, and um, it's a tribute to everybody that we've created this safe environment where we can, just be who we are.
yeah, and we never know. It's like maybe someone needed to hear this conversation today, and you having this experience allowed someone else to be listening and hearing and receiving like what they needed to hear today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Susie, go for it.
Okay, so since this is such a safe environment, I'm going to admit that I got distracted when Anne was talking about her her deer trail, and and then I picked it back up when Christy, you were saying to ask permission. So I, I'm, I got lost in what will you ask? What, what would Anne ask permission for and why? And, uh, anyway, do you mind going over that a little bit?
Yeah, Anne, go for it. You can share what the
Uh,
permission is.
I got this idea from braiding sweetgrass. Um, um, and what I would ask permission for is the space that I was entering was this wherever it is where these animals were is not part of my world. It's not someplace I normally go. And it was where a major event took place. They took down a deer, it's been eaten. And I felt anxious about the feelings of the area. And so if I kind of ask the animal world, the nature world, and maybe it's a way to put human characteristics on a feeling by asking permission, that this is what's going on in nature with or without me, and I wanted to be part of it. I want to explore their world. That's how it is to me. In simplest terms, I'm sure after I sleep on it a while and think longer, I could come up with some other words. But that was the thing, is that this was a place I wasn't part of. I didn't belong here, but I wanted to experience it and know what was going on in the animal and natural world around there. So it was just a different way of entering the space.
Beautiful.
How would you do it differently next time?
Next time because the other day when I went to find it, my husband was like, well, it's off here and it's through the prairie and it's off just about this. So I'm trying to stumble through some corn stalks and then get to the prairie area, and I'm finding the brambles. So I wasn't entering in a peaceful state of mind. It was more of an anxious, am I finding this? Well, whoa, there's the deer, and yeah, there's skin and fur, and where's the coyotes? And I was feeling that way. And so I quickly took pictures and left. And I'd like to go back, but I don't want to be as anxious. And I want to be, I guess, respectful of the thing that just happened here. So and Christy's got some other insights on asking the permission. And maybe, like I said, maybe I'll get there and I'll still feel anxious. And maybe it's not a place I need to be right now. And maybe it's me. Mm-hmm. Maybe the animals don't really care. Mm-hmm. But maybe I don't need to be there in my own way.
Yeah. And then trusting the message that that you receive. Just trust that, you'll know what the answer is. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions, Susie? Did that make sense? And maybe not.
Sort of. I don't know what kind of question. What kind of question do you ask? And who are you asking?
Well, let me just interject for a second. Susie, maybe what we could do, because I actually do have to go, but I want to make sure that there's nobody else who wants to share. I'm really glad that you asked for clarity today. And it is a safe space to do that kind of a thing. But since you and I are having our own private session tomorrow, how about we chat a little bit about this more?
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'd love to go into depth with you with that. How's that? Good?
Fine.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Yeah, sure. And thanks, Anne. Anyone, Della, did I see your hand up? I'm not sure if I saw your hand. No, okay. Anyone else? Was there Claudia or no? Yeah, Gabrielle. Yep. Oh, so here's the button. There you go.
One of my favorite poems is by Rumi called The Guest House. And you guys might want to read it. And it just is so profoundly connected to our conversation right now.
That's a good one. Thank you, Gabrielle. All right, The Guest House. Let's end on Rumi, yeah? What a beautiful one. Thank you. Thank you, Gabrielle. Well, wow. Dang, everybody. All started with just looking in the woods, See what can happen. That's pretty amazing. Well, thank you, everybody, for just opening your hearts, your minds, your bodies, and your souls to this experience, and for yourselves and for whatever it does to connect us and build relationship with the wild world. outside our doors and welcoming them into our hearts. This is really, I feel privileged and lucky to be here with you all. So thank you, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you this week. Hopefully, you all will make it to Michael's art drawing, the art as exploration instead of perfection on Wednesday. That's coming up this Wednesday. And I put a link in the Roost. You can look in the Roost and check out all the details about that and what to bring and whatnot. And then, was there anything else? We're having a momentum boost session tonight. And I think that's it for now. All right, everybody, have a beautiful rest of your week until I see you next time. Bye.